Blake, Rodgers. Today's topic, we're going to dive on Week 13 of the NFL. Wow, it's Week 13 already. That is crazy. Pittsburgh undefeated no more. Going down to the Washington Redskins. Jalen Hurts finding some legit PT. And I'm not talking about, okay, you come in for, one possession, one snap, and that's over with. Like, no, he legit got reps midway through the third quarter. I might come off as a hater. I was unimpressed with Baker Mayfield's performance. I mean, statistically, it was great. 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. But, pretty much any quarterback was having their way. Is having their way against Tennessee this year. So I was unimpressed. I still think he's not the guy. Not something you want to see from the number overall pick. But, the Browns are 9-3. That's about Odell Beckham. That being said, let's start with Pittsburgh. And look, I said in the last podcast episode, Washington's pass rush is amazing. I mean, they have a great pass rush. They drafted well. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Darren Payne. These guys can ball. They put pressure on Pittsburgh. And Alex Smith, I'm not the biggest Alex Smith guy. You guys know that. But kudos to him. I mean, his receivers weren't playing the greatest. You lose Antonio Gibson, your star running back. And, you rely on the check down game, McKissick. And, Terry McLaurin was nowhere to be found today. I don't know if he wasn't looking for him, but maybe he just didn't get open. I don't know. But he found guys in Sims and just Logan Thomas, quarterback converted to tight end, was an old quarterback for Virginia Tech. And he converted to tight end. And, I mean, just having a great year at tight end. Pittsburgh. And the same goes for Tampa Bay. I know you don't have James Conner. I think James Conner's overrated. I don't think he had one good year. Been kind of mediocre ever since. I'm sorry about that, Pittsburgh fan, just from my vantage point. That being said, you have to run the ball. I mean, I said the same thing about Tampa Bay. I mean, Big Ben throwing 51 times. And then when you get to the red zone, okay, Benny Snell, here you go. We didn't have you in rhythm all game, but you know what? Go in there and get us a goal line touchdown. What? Benny didn't score? Well, let's try it again. He didn't score again? And then here's the thing. And one thing I noticed when watching that game, when Pittsburgh got in the red zone, here you are, you're running, five spread out. You have a single back quarterback, or you have a running back in the backfield. You're pretty much primarily in shotgun the whole game. Then when you get down to the red zone, you go to your jumbo package. Why? If your whole offense is predicated on spreading the ball out to different receivers, and you have the receivers that can do that, why would you go to the jumbo backfield? Not once, not twice, but you ran jumbo pretty much 6 times in the red zone. And you didn't come for a score. Your score came from Deontay Johnson, who's in the red zone, touchdown earlier in the game. And then it was a long breakout touchdown pass to James Washington. You get down the red zone, you couldn't come away with points. You don't win in the NFL that way, especially with a pass rush like the Redskins. So I was very disappointed in the play calling. I mean, spread the field out. If you're not a running team, and Pittsburgh is not a running team as we have seen, why would you switch to the jumbo? It wasn't working. You just go. You have Juju, you have Deontay Johnson, you have James Washington, you have Ebron. Use those boys. You might as well. You don't trust Big Ben to make decisions in the red zone. I mean, Big Ben has arguably the best red zone play in Super Bowl history. I mean, come on now. Let's give Big Ben his flowers. All right. So I didn't get that at all. I know I wasn't shocked. I didn't expect Pittsburgh to go 16-0, but that easily should have been a game they should have won. Should have been a game they won. No doubt about it. And here's the thing with passing the ball so much, and I hear commentators talking about, well, the pass is the run with these little 3 or 4 yard dink and dunk plays. You got to catch the damn ball if you're going to run that offense. Ebron dropping passes. Deontay Johnson dropping passes. Those are 2 primary guys. Juju had a bad drop as well. Claypool, he really, he's the 50-50 guy, so, sometimes he gets, sometimes not. He's usually, your vertical deep threat. But it's primarily Ebron and Deontay Johnson are the bad guys dropping these balls. And that has to be frustrating, and that came to bite them in the butt. And it's funny because shout out to Daryl Johnson, who called the game today. And he said, look, if Pittsburgh if they keep dropping these balls, it's going to end up going up in the air, and the defender's going to come down with it. And sure enough, it happened. Now, it wasn't a drop ball, but it was a tip pass. And Pittsburgh couldn't even drive down the field to try to, for Big Ben to work his magic. Didn't happen. So if you're Pittsburgh, and this is a little bit different from Tampa Bay because their offense is different. With Tampa Bay, they're trying to take deep shots every time. I'm like, bro, if you're going to do that, you got to establish a run. With Pittsburgh, it's more, yes, you want to sprinkle your run here and there, but if you're going to run your offense, which is dink and dunks, you got to have your receivers catch the ball, and then you have to man it up and run that offense in the red zone. Don't switch the jumbo because it just didn't work. And with a pass rush like Washington, a great defensive line like that, you're not going to win with that. They got stuffed in the red zone multiple times. So credit to Washington. They got the win. Washington and Giants tied for first in the NFC East, the miserable NFC East. Now, Pittsburgh, I don't want to overlook that they lost Bud Dupree, great linebacker. Another linebacker got hurt as well. So they are missing bits and pieces of their defense. I believe they missed a cornerback and safety as well this game as well. So, Pittsburgh was missing some pieces, but nonetheless, they should have won that game. Let's switch to the other Monday night game. My boy J.A., I'm going to start calling him Justice League Allen, man, because he's a superhero, man. He just takes care of business. He can make any receiver look good. Isaiah McKenzie, Gabe Davis, who's a rookie, Cole Beasley. I know people didn't like that signing at first. Now he's a great wide receiver 2 option. This is what John Brown being out pretty much the whole year, missing multiple games. And then you got Stephon Diggs, just, one of the best route runners in the game. So I like everything I see from this Buffalo offense. The defense, I don't think they're the greatest defense. I think they're a good defense. They're not, I'm afraid to play against your defense. You might be scared to throw to Tre'Davious White, who's got interception. And if you've seen that interception, why would you put a running back on Tre'Davious White? Like, why? Like, I don't get that, especially Jeff Wilson, who's known to be the goal line back. If you're going to put your running back out on the line and set him as a receiver, put McKinnon out there. Shoot, put Coleman out there. But why would you put Wilson out there? And I will never get Kyle Shanahan's offense. And I'm not gonna thrash it. I'm not. It's just more for fantasy purposes. Like, pick a damn running back. I hate this. You got 4 good talented running backs. And now look, some of this is due to injury, right? Like, Mostert wasn't supposed to play last year, but Coleman got hurt. McKinnon was supposed to be the guy. He's been hurt the past 2 years. And then get this Wilson guy. So, I get it. I understand it. But stick to a damn running back or something. Or don't have him out in the flats. And then he gets no separation against Tre'Davious White. And it's an interception. That being said, the Bills are for real. They said if, DeAndre doesn't go down with that ball, the Bills are on a 6-0 winning streak. They're 5-1 now the past 6 games. And what that shows me is resiliency. You know how hard is it to come, you're playing hard the whole game, you're winning the whole game, this Hail Mary play happens, and then what do? Do you rise from it, like the Dark Knight? Or do you fall and you self-destruct? They didn't self-destruct. So I like Josh Allen, I like the Buffalo Bills. I hope he's ready for the bright lights come playoff time, and I think he will be. That's how much confidence I have in him. The running back situation is murky. I mean, I think they use their running backs as a last resort. I like Singletary. Moss had that fumble, but, he's a rookie. So, I really like the Buffalo Bills team. It wouldn't shock me to make it to the AFC Championship game. I don't think they have the firepower I think they have the firepower offensively, but defensively, I just don't think they can keep up with Kansas City. I just don't see that happening. But nonetheless, the Bills are 9-3, and I feel bad for the Niners. I mean, so many people hurt. I heard they had 27 people on IR this season, and that's not even including the COVID list. Jimmy G hurts, Greg Kittle's hurt. You lose Bosa, you lose so many pieces, and so San Francisco 5-7, they're playing hard. They're a gritty team. Maybe it's that curse of the team that loses in the Super Bowl, they don't make it back the next year. I mean that's a true stat. So it happens. But hats off. Shanahan's still a great coach, And you got to give credit where credit is due. All right, we got a little Freaky Friday going on for the Seattle Seahawks. 10 weeks of the season, it was, let Russ cook. Let Russ air the ball out. Let Russ do him. Now, some of that was the secondary and the defense was so bad that Russ had to overcompensate and take, huge risks and gain huge yards. So that was part of it. And then now they're going for a more conservative game approach. And then you bring in Carlos Dunlap. You got a couple guys. Now the defense has really been blowing out. And I was listening to Bucky Brooks, listen to his podcast, and he said the magic number for a defensive team is 17. If you can hold the offense to 17 points, you can win a lot of games in the NFL. And I agree. And the Seahawks have done that. The problem is, once the defense, started to click, the offense is nowhere to be found. And look, let's go to the Philadelphia game last week. Metcalf went berserk. He went berserk. Had a great statistical game. I still wasn't really that impressed with Seattle's offense. It took a while for them to get going. There was a couple 3-and-outs. They didn't score till late in the game. So you knew Philly was due to the collapse just because of the way they were playing. But Philadelphia's defense was not that bad for the majority of that game. I know Darius Slate got burnt, but it is what it is. So then you go against the Giants, and let's be honest, Colt McCoy hasn't been relevant since Texas, right? He just has not been relevant. I didn't know he was still on the freaking roster. Get along, he's starting. So you're up 5-0 at halftime. What? You telling me MVP candidate Russell Wilson and his offense only has 5 points at halftime? What? Like that's crazy talk. It's insane. And they gotta find more of a balance. And I think Minnesota does this well. And I would honestly, if I'm Pete Carroll, I would look at Minnesota's offense, the way they run it. The way they run their two wide receivers in Jefferson and then Adam Thielen. They both get equal opportunity shares. They both get targets in the red zone. And it works. And then you have your power running back in Dalvin Cook. You have that in Chris Carson. And Russell is 10 times quarterback than Kirk Cousins is. But here's the thing: if they find a more balanced approach, it's not okay. Metcalf, you go off this game. All right, Tyler Lockett, we're playing against the Cardinals. Okay, it's your turn to go off. You have to keep both these guys engaged and keep them going. So I would look more into running a traditional two wide receiver set, I formation, something like that, just to get a more balanced approach. And these guys are two talented wide receivers. And I got faith in Russell, and I got faith in the Seattle team. Let's call a spade a spade. When they get into the red zone, I'm scared. As a Seattle fan, you should be scared. Like, what are we doing in the red zone? Are we running it? Are we passing it? Like, it just seems like he still is just battling that ghost of Marshawn Lynch every time Seattle is in the red zone. Just is. That's something they run like this most silliest stuff. The Giants, you got to feel good. You win this game. Defense is playing really, really good. You got to win out. It's going to come down to you in Washington, and I picked you guys. Now, I know Washington has a better defensive line, but it's something about New York. I said earlier in the season, I'm like, look, they weren't getting blown out. They were losing close games. They lost a close game to Tampa. They lost a close game to Philly. Now they're overcoming those circumstances, and now they're winning these close games. So, good for the Giants. They got the upset win. I hate to call wins upset in the NFL because you're professionals at this point. Let's go on to me being a hater. I guess I'm going to be a hater. Let me give my 2 cents on Baker Mayfield. I think he had a bad year last year. I think he had a really good rookie year. He had a sophomore slump. Here's my thing on Baker Mayfield. I think he's okay. I think he's an average quarterback. I don't think he's a starter. I personally don't see that. I just don't see it. But I will say this, with him not pressuring to get the ball to OBJ, because I think him and Jarvis Landry has a more natural connection, and you've seen that the first couple of years in Cleveland. Baker and Jarvis hook up a lot. Then Odell comes in the mix, superstar, this and that. He was kind of forcing him, forcing himself to, look for Odell instead of running the offense naturally. Well, we got to make sure Odell get his touches. Odell got the contract. Odell got the commercials. We got to look for Odell. So I think by him having that pressure off, and then I was listening to Colin Cowherd, you bring in a grown-up. You bring in Kevin Stefanski, who's been around a great coach in Mike Zimmer. And he knows Cleveland's strength. Okay, we got Kareem Hunt, we got Nick Chubb. We're going to run the ball and limit Baker Mayfield's passing as much as we can. We got Myles Garrett, we got Denzel Ward. Let's put them in situations that they're best at, and that's keen for our defense. So I like what I see from Cleveland. They're 9-3. I hope they finish strong. I remember the fluky year was it was 2007, 2008, maybe around that range, when Derek Anderson, the boys, they went 10-6 and still didn't make the playoffs. Derek Anderson was a Pro Bowler. So I'm rooting for you, Browns. Now, this is why I say I was unimpressed with the game, because Tennessee's secondary and defense in general has been terrible. If you're a number one overall pick, you're supposed to have a game like that against, a bad defense. Oh, Blake, the Titans this, the Titans that. Okay, I get it. But that Titans offense is the glitz and glamour of that team. The defense is not that good. Clowney has not made that much of a difference, if I'm being quite blunt. Now listen to me here. Listen to me here. Joe Burrow went for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they beat the Titans. Nick Foles, the guy who probably lost his job to Mitch Trubisky, 335 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Gardner Minshew, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They lost by 3. Ole Man Rivers split it, but he averaged 300 yards against the Titans. So, yes, Baker had a great game. But you know what? Everybody else had a great game against the Titans too. All right? So, Baker's supposed to do what he's supposed to do. I'm glad he had a good game. I don't hate Baker Mayfield by any stretch of imagination. But we have seen that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, I might say Josh Allen might be the best quarterback out that class. I might say it. I think I'm going to say it. I think we're seeing Lamar Jackson's limitations. But everybody's allowed to have a down year, right? And I'm still high on Sam Darnold. I still like Sam Darnold a lot. I mean, you try to play for Adam Gase. Ask Ryan Tannehill. Ask Ryan Tannehill. Ask Miami Dolphin Ryan Tannehill and Tennessee Titan Ryan Tannehill. Night and day difference, okay? So I think Darnold still deserves a chance in this league. I really legitimately think that. Good morning, San Diego. You just got blown out by the Patriots 45-0. Yes, that is correct. 45-0. Justin Herbert, by far his worst game. 26 for 53, 209 yards, 2 interceptions. Cam, 12 for 19, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. But let's be honest, the Pats defense and special teams won them that game. Here's my thing. I'm not surprised by the outcome. Now, 45-0 is a bit ridiculous. I get it. I understand. But you had Belichick facing off against a rookie quarterback. And Belichick is a defensive mastermind. Okay? So you got a rookie quarterback, hot stuff, feeling himself. And Belichick's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to humble you real quick. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and humble you. I mean, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Really can get a connection with Keenan Allen going. And they just got their butt whooped, man. There's no other way to put it. The Patriots are still out of the playoff picture. I don't think they'll make it. I'll dive more into the playoff picture in a little bit. But anytime you see Cam Newton win, man, you got to root for Cam. So Raiders last minute touchdown against the New York Jets to win and keep the New York Jets in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. That defense scares me. I still think they need a premier cornerback. The Garrett Conley pick never worked out. Uh, yeah, that secondary just it scares me. I know you drafted Abraham. I think he's gonna be fine. There's Abrams. He's gonna be fine. He's a strong safety. He likes to blitz the ball a lot. He's a hard hitter, old school guy. But if you get him more zone coverage and kind of reading and get that play making going, he's starting intercepting the ball with athleticism. I think the Raiders defense can go to the next level. Okay. Trubisky, Mitch Trubisky blowing the lead against the Lions, fumbling the ball. The Lions are still in the playoff picture in the NFC, which is crazy. Like that NFC North is, somebody can get that last spot. It's still up for grabs. We're looking at the point where now everybody might be going. Nagy might be going. Like everybody might be going. We might be reaching Armageddon in Chicago. Sorry, Brett. Rams take a big division win, winning against the Arizona Cardinals, moving them up more into a closer playoff positioning. And then the Vikings back in a playoff picture, 6-6. They started off the season 1-5. They have now won 5 in a row, and they are just rolling. Now, here's the thing, and I don't want to make it big. I'll get to the playoff picture after this. So the Chiefs have put up 27 points and 22 points in the last 2 games. Now, I'm not saying it's a huge deal, but it could be a deal, and maybe I'm overanalyzing. I don't know. But they had that huge first quarter, first half against the Bucks. They didn't score that much, in the second half. The score was closer than indicated. And then you have this Broncos game where, it was nip and tuck, for a little bit. Kansas City was down a lot in this game. And, they overcame, and Travis Kelce did him, and this and that. And not to mention that Tyreek Hill touchdown that was not called a touchdown. Don't get me started with that. And Charles Barkley talks about this all the time on Inside the NBA. When you're a team that's so good, you kind of just go through the motions. And that's what it feels like with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like when you're playing a game on an easier difficulty, and you're just chilling. You're not trying to, put the seat up. You're just trying to relax, listen to music, vibe, and play the game. That's what it feels like Kansas City is doing. And I don't want them to fall into that danger where it's like, okay, Pat, we're down by 14. Can you kind of make us come back every game in the playoffs this year like you did last year? I don't want the Chiefs to be complacent. They have the talent. I think the defense still isn't the greatest, but when you have Patrick Mahomes, quarterback can cover up a lot of flaws. So 27 points, 22. They gave up some points to Drew Lock. He had 2 touchdowns. I didn't think Drew Lock didn't have a bad game. I think Tim Patrick is a nice receiver as well. So the Chiefs, don't get too complacent. That's all I have to offer on that. Let's take a look at this playoff picture. Screenshotted it here. So if the playoffs started today, Pittsburgh would get the bye. It would be Kansas City versus the Colts, the 2-7 seed. The 3-6 seed, which would be a division game, it would be Buffalo versus Miami Dolphins. And Dolphins are wild. The Dolphins are like one game out of first, in the AFC East. Then you got the Browns versus Titans, that rematch. So, and I don't see anybody really outside looking in for the AFC. You got the Raiders. You got Baltimore if they win this game. Then you got New England at 6-6. So maybe the Dolphins collapse. Who knows? But I don't know. I think that might be set. But there's still a month left of football, so you just never know. First round bye, we go to NFC. The 10-2 New Orleans Saints. Yuck. Don't have much to say about them. But they win. They win games, and I hope they choke in the playoffs like they have been doing every year since the Super Bowl they won. Ha 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 ha. So the 2-7 seed would be Green Bay versus Minnesota. Minnesota does not fear Green Bay at all. I believe they won a game earlier this year. I think they split. The thing is, Minnesota can't cover Devontae Adams. The 6 and the 3 seed, it'll be the Rams versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. It'll be a Monday night rematch as well. I feel like the Rams had control of that game pretty much the whole time, but it was still a close game nonetheless. And then the 4th seed versus the 5th seed would be a rematch from this previous week, which would be the Giants versus the Seahawks. Outside looking in the NFC, we got Arizona at 6-6, the Bears at 5-7, Detroit at 5-7, San Francisco at 5-7, and Washington at 5-7, and my Falcons at 4-8. I don't know. Never say never. No, we're out the playoff picture. But I don't like the way Arizona's backsliding, but Minnesota's on a roll. So that 7th seed is up for grabs. And who knows? Maybe that 6th seed. Maybe Tampa doesn't get it right after the bye week. And maybe Detroit and Chicago picks it up and Arizona picks it up. Like, who knows? Who knows? We got 4 games left for all these teams. It's going to come down to the wire. I didn't give you my take on the John Wall and Russell Westbrook trade. I'm sorry. Wow, it just hit my mind. So here's just my quick piece on that. I like John Wall a lot. I was representing John Wall was the best point guard in the East when healthy. But of course that was several years ago. John likes to have the ball in his hand. I don't see John Wall being an off the ball guy. So how will him and Harden mesh? Maybe you're hoping in the basketball sense that John Wall will set Harden up and make his life easier. But, Harden likes to run ISO and run the step back. So, I don't know. If you're Westbrook, you get a fresh start. I think him and Bradley Beal can coexist. I think Westbrook has shown that he can check his ego. And nobody's saying Westbrook's a bad guy. From the looks of it, everybody says good things about Russ. The problem with Russ is his three-point shooting and how erratic he can be down the stretch of games and how over-emotional he can get over games that can be detrimental to the team. That's always my knock on Russ. Like, he can't shoot threes, and he's a little erratic down the stretch. Is he a Hall of Famer? Sure. Is he an All-Star? Yes. Is he super talented? Of course. But is he better than Steph? No. Would you take CP3 over him? Probably. So, we've seen it. We've seen this Houston team, was one Chris Paul injury away from going to the finals. We've seen it. Now, is it fair to judge? If we can put Russ in that class, we have to judge him by his peers. And to me, he just doesn't match up. He got owned by Dame. Multiple first-round exits. I'm taking Dame over Russ. I think this is nothing crazy. This is not crazy talk. Now, Russ is not a bad player. He's going to the East. And I think the East, people want to say, it's going to be hard to get a spot in the East. I know the East isn't as talented, but all of them are so mediocre that who's gonna slide and get that playoff spot? And I want to break this down because you got Milwaukee, they're getting in. Miami, they're getting in. That's 2 right there. Philly, they're getting in. 3. Boston, 4. Brooklyn, 5. Is there any team that I'm missing? Toronto, 6. Who's getting the past 2 spots? Who's getting these last 2 shots, man? Who's getting the 7th and 8th seed? Is it Indiana? Is it Orlando? Are they making the playoffs again? Is it Atlanta? Or is it Washington? Is it Charlotte? Because those first 6 is a lock. Boston, Miami, Toronto, Philly, Brooklyn. Those first 5 to 6 teams are a lock. So where is Washington fitting into this? And if they do, they're not going far. Okay? Not going far. On the Houston side of things, I think James Harden wants out. I know he wanted out. When I seen that dude was partying, he had practice the next day. He out there partying with the strippers. Yeah, I love them strippers. Out there partying with Lil Baby. So, yeah. James wants out. He might just act his way out. I don't know. We'll see. I do like that John Wall and Boogie are back together, even though they have been through traumatic injuries, which sucks, and they're probably both past their prime. But it's still, nonetheless to see the Kentucky boys back and playing together. And I like Christian Wood a lot. So it's going to be an interesting NBA season tipping off in about 2 to 3 weeks here. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. As always, thank you for listening to The Blake Rodgers Show. You can find The Blake Rodgers Show on Apple iTunes Podcast, Spotify. Like I said, Google The Blake Rodgers Show, and you shall find me. Also, check out our music video, Clutch, which is on YouTube, Pair of Kings Clutch. And also check out my Twitch as well. Subscribe, Chosen Digital. And I am Chosen Digital on Twitter as well. All right, as always, thank you for listening. Stay lit.